Ireland's #1 football man.
Pogba's a social media star, right? He appeals to the young people now. He does his dance, he has his hair and all that. That's all he's worried about, in my opinion. Not worried about being a great player, Nathan.
John Giles. Every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on OTB Sports Radio, live 24/7 on the Go Loud app.
OTB Gold, the very best of Off the Ball.
Are you crazy?
This is OTB Sports Radio.
This week on OTB Gold.
The art of beating people is obviously you've got to have the trick, we know that, and it's got to work.
Absolutely brilliant manoeuvre by Mansell, fantastically brilliant.
But I never even wanted to see those people, you know. I went into isolation for many years.
Mick was there the last time. They could learn to calm it down a little bit, and everyone else could as well.
Jack McCaffrey, you're very welcome. You just warned me, no boring questions.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
OTB Gold, the very best of Off the Ball. Weekdays from 1 p.m. and 6 p.m.
This is OTB Sports Radio, live 24/7 on the Go Loud app.
The Cheltenham Show.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Paddy Power. Cheltenham's coming home.
And you're very welcome along to the Cheltenham Show on OTB Sports Radio. Maybe you're watching us on our YouTube channel this morning. We're going to be live every morning this week from 9 o'clock, getting the best information that we possibly can from the track. Whispers from Paddy Power, from Johnny Ward and from John Duggan trackside. It's all in association with our Cheltenham partner, Paddy Power. Cheltenham's coming home. Tom, you had another good day yesterday.
Yeah, decent day. A nice 16-1 place, and we started off with NYLN and a couple of others. But yeah, no, it's been good so far, as you can tell by my voice. I mean, Champ. We just got to talk about Champ in the RSA. What a ride from Barry Garrity. Obviously, I was on Manila Indo and cheering Rachel the whole way. But my goodness, I have no idea what price he hit in running.
$3.99.
Yeah, well, and even at that, you were thinking, that's not a very big price, considering he fell last time out at Cheltenham. He is not the best jumper in the world.
There was a really bad jump in the middle of it that actually took him out of everything. You're like, oh, he's finished.
In his previous run to the RSA, he fell. And you never want to see a horse fall, but watching that race the previous day, nothing was ever so obvious in your life that this horse was not going to complete. Such was his standard of jumping. The level of improvement that Nicky Anderson, apparently Nico de Boinville as well, schools him a lot at home. Barry Garrity, unbelievable ride just to nurse him round. Like, he was, 5, 6, 7 lengths down at the back of the last and just trusting the engine. But brilliant ride from Barry Garrity. He's having the most... And it's great to see him have a good festival as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point yesterday where I was like, oh, this just feels like it has the bang of a Barry Garrity week off. It didn't do anything about it. Didn't back any of his horses yesterday. Also, for the last 3 weeks, I've been banging on about how I don't think Tiger Roll is going to win at Cheltenham.
Yes, and you were spot on.
But then I backed him like a clown. I was just sitting there going, do you know what? It's a bit stupid now. This is one of the few times I haven't backed him.
The thing is, you were actually been backed up by connections. Gordon Elliott was so negative before, and Keith Rooney was saying, like, this ground is just way too testing for him. We are worried about this ground. And sure enough, got bogged down in it. He was still 30 lengths clear of the third, mind. So he just bumped into one. You know, it's nice to have another cross-country specialist, and as Easy Lands looked at.
They were talking about him as a potential Gold Cup horse next year. Quoted at 33-1. Not that good, no.
No, I mean, the thing is about these jumps, and if you watch them going around, Keith Rooney was magic. Look, they just brushed through the top of them. You attempted to do that twice in the Gold Cup, and that's it. Your race is over, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. John Duggan is back from Cheltenham. John, how are you getting on?
Hi, Ger and Tom, good morning.
What are we looking at today?
We're looking at a few good storylines. Sam Crow and Faheen, these legends of the turf in the first race, how they perform. Faheen's 12 years of age now. Sam Crow's had that wind surgery. Will he be back to his best that he showed in the RSA Novices Hurdle a couple of years ago? Then we have the two Grade 1s. We got the Ryanair Chase, Rachel Blackmore against Paul Townend again, as they had that battle on Tuesday with Honeysuckle and Benny Dejeau. Now it's a Plutar versus Min. Of course, you cannot discount Frodon, who won the race last year with Bryony Frost in the saddle again, and Paul Nicholls had the winner of the big race yesterday. And then the Stairs Hurdle, Paisley Park, named after Prince's studios in Minnesota, is odds on for the Stairs Hurdle, and is a horse that's deceptively quick in his races, in that he goes behind the bridle, he looks under pressure, and then he comes with that turbo boost at the end. And he was very impressive in the Cleve Hurdle to win his big trial and won the race last year. But there's each way opportunities against that. And then you've got a few difficult races to work out. The Kim Muir Chase is an amateur race. At the last race, you got that plate, the Mile May Fleece used to be called, the Festival Plate. That's the third last race. That's a tricky 1/20 runners.
Yeah.
So Thursday's a tricky day.
It's been a bloodbath traditionally for a lot of people. Paddy Power, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
I'm doing great, gents. How you getting on? You right?
Yeah, I think we should talk about Faugheen straight off the top here. We have a Faugheen apologist sitting in studio with me in the form of Thom. Where do you stand on the fact that an old horse like this, surely on the Thursday, can't be romping home in the first race of the day?
Well, he's an old horse, still a novice over fences, which is a bit weird. He's 12 years old, but yeah, you saw how good he was at Dublin Racing Festival. You kind of thought that might have been his Gold Cup and that might have been his big day. But the fact they've come here, I think he'd be considered. You got to think he's the best of Willie Mullins novice chases, even like of the stuff he's achieved on the track. So if he's anywhere near his best, Allaho went pretty close yesterday, and if Faugheen's going to be better than Allaho, then he's going to be thereabouts. I mean, it's a really interesting race though, because Faugheen's there. There's obviously a question mark about his age. He's favourite now for the race. He's into 4-1 favourite, but they're 130 favourite even. And then the other one is Sam Crow, who again has been this wonder horse that never really delivered after that one performance at Cheltenham. And he's had wind operation. And there's a really strong word this morning that Sam Crow is back to his very best, and he's really come alive, and he's been backed off the boards. He said there's a good chance he could go off favourite or joint favourite. He's into 4-1 now, Sam Crow. So the two horses with kind of big question marks about them, and they're the two horses that everyone's backing. It's weird. Racing's weird.
Paddy, as you sit there in your really, really nice looking hotel room, how many times have bookmakers embraced the phrase "Sam Crow is back"?
The what?
How many times have bookmakers embraced the phrase, "Oh, Sam Crow is back"?
I know, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I couldn't be backing Sam Crow based on what we've seen. I think Faugheen firmly put him in his place the last time as well, and so he's it's just not for me. I mean, it's a leap of faith. It really is a leap of faith to see him. He looked like he wasn't finishing out his races, and maybe that's going to make the difference for him. But I think it's it's too hard a place to come with a question mark like that for me. But I've been wrong about almost every single call I've made this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I think this is going to be a race that I'm watching. You're financially involved with Faugheen.
I'm financially and emotionally invested in Faugheen, and I'm actually concerned if I have to watch this race with my colleagues, what kind of shape I'll end up in.
Are none of these other horses that we know so well, Melon?
They have chances. Like even if Faugheen is a stone worse over fences than he is over hurdles, right?
Is that possible?
If he's a stone worse, he's still at least half a stone better than these officially. So Faugheen at his peak reached a rate of 177. Altior only ever reached 175. This is like so, and his 12 argument only washes to a certain extent. We kind of brought this up with Willie Mullins on the media day, and he was like, well, lots of horses run until they're later on in life. The way I campaign my horses, they're lightly raced. We only ever run them up to 5 times a year. We take care of them, we work them slowly. I mean, and he talked about it. He's like, well, we have a horse out there, he's 29 years of age, and like, what life does he have standing out in the rain?
Am I right? Did Faugheen have a big fall, or was Faugheen out for a year injured? What?
Yeah, he's had injuries, he's had issues, he had a fibrillating heart, but that's the kind of thing that can just... there's no kind of rhyme or reason to a condition like that. It can come on or it can't. Again, he's not running over 3 miles, he's running over 2 miles and 5. You just have to consider what you're up against here. Like Itchy Feet, he's obviously a much better horse over bigger obstacles. Like he was 4th in the Supreme last year. You're talking about Faugheen, who's a champion hurdle winner. Like I said, he is one of the greats. And by the sounds of things, the only reason I can work out that he didn't go over fences sooner was that Ruby managed to convince Willie Mullins not to do it. Because I remember, Paddy, you'd know as well, Ruby kind of at the start of every season he'd almost joke, oh, Willie's talking about Faugheen going novice chasing this year, and he'd kind of laugh and go, that's not happening. So like Ruby's out of the picture now. Faugheen gets to go novice chasing, and look, he's really good at it because he's a winning point-to-pointer for Andrew Slattery earlier on in his career before he became this absolute superstar. And like, if you look for the model of novice hurdlers and the model of horses now, how they're
back in here, Thom.
Top class point-to-pointers generally have a novice hurdling career and go chasing, like Sam Crow. Just Faugheen turned out to be a really, really, really good hurdler, and so they kept him at it.
Yeah, you're definitely sucking me back in.
So you like Faugheen then, Thom, do you?
No chance, Paddy.
Do you like anybody in this race, Paddy?
I do actually fancy Faugheen as well. I'm a total fairy tale merchant, and I think the reason why we love him is because he was top of the game, and then it all went a bit pear-shaped for him, and now he's back. And we love a bit of Phoenix from the Flames, don't we? And that's why he becomes it's a bit of a hero horse. And it will genuinely be probably the best cheer of the week if he does come in. So, yeah, Faugheen for me.
John, you've got an outsider in this race?
Yeah, Bob Home is now 20 to 1. I think Bob Home is value now at 20 to 1 in the same colours of Faheen. They were third and fourth in the Stairs Hurdle last year. Bob Home, forget about his last run, was over too short a trip, and he won well at Nice. And I think Bob Home with Rachel Blackmore, I'd say she'd go out in front and give it a confident ride. I think Bob Home is definitely an each-way play in this Marsh Novices chase. Faheen, my only concern about Faheen is, I think, from an engine point of view, I wouldn't worry about his age at all. I'd be worried a little bit about his jumping. They won't take any prisoners out here, and you need to jump. And Faheen has made mistakes over fences in his career, and that would put me off backing him at 100 to 30. I think Bob Home is the each-way play at 20 to 1.
Yeah, OK, let's go and talk about Paisley Park. Paddy, this is another one of those odds-on prices. Some of the odds-on horses this week have romped home and have been carefully manoeuvred around the place and have just been the class of the field. Is that kind of what we expect today from Paisley Park?
Yeah, I think the thing about Paisley Park is that on Cheltenham Trials Day, against the same second favourite, Somerville Boy, and it was a slow run race, and they say that's the only way he's going to get him beaten if it turns into kind of a sprint finish, which sounds a bit weird for a 3 mile race, but if they go very slow, they might be able to not let him use his kind of the turbo kick that John described earlier. He's 4 to 6 today, but he managed to find a way to win that day anyway on Trials Day, and it kind of felt like that was the chance they had to beat him. And they tried that tactic. They're going to be trying other tactics. The one thing is that there's a load of horses in this race that Paisley Park knows he's got a big target on his back, and they're going to try weird, different tactics to try and just get him beat. But he looks pretty bomb-proof, you know. But I mean, I've said that about a few of them during the week, and I've got him completely wrong. So I mean, I've kind of lost a bit of confidence in backing the short price favourite. So I mean, I think he's one to watch. It'll be a good out fairy tale as well if he wins, because the owner Andrew Gemmell's blind and everything. He does great interviews and everything afterwards. So that'll be a nice period. Like this day last year, we had that golden hour when Frodon won and Paisley Park won. It was all great and smiles and hugs and kisses and everything. But so it'll be a good little story. So maybe if you want something each way, maybe you're betting without the favourite, that kind of thing, just to have an interest in the race. I think Bacardi's is apparently going pretty well at home, and also Emmy Thom has been was quite impressive last time out, but it's a race that not to be getting too heavily involved in for me, but I do expect Paisley Park to win.
Bacardi's was a Cheltenham darling for a long period of time there. Every year it was like, Bacardi's. Every preview night had somebody tipping Bacardi's out to 33 to 1 this morning.
The thing with Bacardi's, he had kind of an aborted chasing career that was absolutely disastrous. He's had a bit of an in and out season this year. Had a really good run when he beat Apples Jade at Navan, and then we've had place since then, was 4th last time out. Look, again, he has been campaigned. He's had a much more straightforward campaign this year, so I wouldn't actually put anyone off back in Bacardi's at 33s, particularly against a short price favourite like that. City Island would probably come into my each way concerns as well. Obviously previous course winner, won the Ballymore, another one with an aborted chasing campaign, and he's about 12 to 1. He's had the wind up as well, so that might help him through his race, but as far as I'm concerned, Paisley Park is bomb-proof. OK, and John Duggan, you're back in Ronald Pump in this Brian Cooper's mount.
Yeah, Ronald Pump, I think he's worth a chance each way at 18 to 1. He's been an extremely progressive hurdler and running in handicap hurdles over top weight. Actually, we captain CJ, and Minetta Indo was close with captain CJ in a chase, so there's a line of form there. I just think that a lot of these horses to me are exposed. Bacardi's, I've backed him at the festival before. Penn Hill, Apples Jade, Lammy Surge. I've been hearing these names for too many years. And Ronald Pump, as a 7-year-old, I think it could be an each-way chance against the favourite. I wouldn't be lumping into Paisley Park. I don't think he's in big bucks class. He's the most likely winner. But if we're going for an each-way bet, Somerville Boy, I think will run well, but Ronald Pump is a really interesting runner for me, for Matthew J. Smith at 18 to 1.
Yeah, look, I buy the point you're making about these names. We know them all, like Penn Hill. We've been on the side of many of these horses many a time and been disappointed by many of them many a time. So again, you pay your money, you take your choice. Paddy, anything today for you that's your nap of the day that you think, yeah, look, I'm going to have a bet on this?
Well, I'll probably end up having a bet in every race, as I always do, to get involved while I'm here. There's a horse called Simply the Bets. He's been favoured now later on, and his form has been really well franked on Tuesday. Imperial Aura won, and Simply the Bets actually beat that horse last time out. So he's only going to be about 7 to 2, so you're not going to be getting rich. But I think he looks rock solid, and I think Le Broy in the very last race as well. He won the 4 mile race, which is the last race on Tuesday. He won it last year, but he's back running in the Kim Muir today. in the Gilroy in the last race today, and he's about 6 to 1 ish, 5-6 to 1. I think he's a really good chance with Jamie Codd on board, and he's obviously riding out of his skin.
One last thing, that we see the back page of the London Times this morning reporting that they expect football at the weekend to be behind closed doors. Paddy, are you hearing anything around the track that maybe tomorrow might be behind closed doors, or will this be like a late night Friday thing for the weekend?
I haven't heard anything. There's nothing official been said yet. I mean, people are kind of having the conversations around the place, saying like everyone's saying, "Oh, if it was on next week, it wouldn't be on." You're kind of going, "Well, then why is it on?" But it is, and we're tipping away at it. And I think, it's a bit of a funny atmosphere. John will tell you the same. You kind of do notice it around the place. Everybody's a bit that kind of thing. But I haven't heard any rumor about whether it obviously could be done behind closed doors. It'd be a big logistical thing, but I mean, racing has always been pretty good at following kind of directives. So I guess if they get a directive from government, there's not much they can do. And there's some meeting this morning with Boris. You're in the Cheltenham bubble over here, so the rest of the world kind of goes on without you realising. But there's some meeting this morning with Boris Johnson, I believe. I read that somewhere. The one little bit of news that wasn't Cheltenham related that I actually looked at. Yeah, and that's coming through. All right, Paddy, we'll let you go. Thanks a million. We're going to run through the last few ones with John here. So that was Lebroy in the last for Paddy, and also Simply the Bets, which I think is the 10 past 4, is that? Yes, the 10 past 4 race today. John, is there anything we haven't spoken about? We spoke about Colreevy, which is your nap of the day. That's an each-way bet in the 450. We talked about that a little bit earlier on. At Plutard, did we go through that, do you think?
Nope.
Yeah.
No, and I put it up as a win bet, Ger and Thom. I think Plutard was a really lovely course and distance winner last year. I think the ground will be okay. I probably prefer to see the horse in better ground, actually, over that distance. But it beat Chacun Persois at Christmas. I know Chacun Persois might not have been tuned up to perfection, but Chacun Persois would have destroyed them in the champion chase yesterday. I think a Plutard with Rachel Blackmore. I love the way he jumped last year. Look, it's not a banker. That's why I put up Colreevy as the nap at 6 to 1. I don't think a Plutard is a banker, but I think it's the most likely winner of the Ryanair chase. I know the Hill has found Min out a few times, but I would respect Min. I would respect Frodon. I would Riders in the Storm. I'm not so sure about, but I think a Plutard for Henry de Bromhead, who's already had 2 winners this week, is a good bet. I think to win the 250, the Ryanair.
Yeah, I think a Plutard is a really good chance in this too, John. That like you said, that race yesterday ultimately was slightly disappointing with, no Chacun Persois in it, but you couldn't but escape the conclusion that Chacun Persois would eat Politlog every day of the week. And, I know Defi Desoy didn't run his race, but, and then on that, if you consider that would have happened, you're looking at that Plutard been absolutely smashed up. So, around about 7 to 4, it seems about the right price. Okay, the 10 past 2 is a 3... Oh, the Pretemps. Yeah. What a race.
Right, so talk to us about this, Tom.
Well, the Pretemps, to qualify for the Pretemps, right, you need to finish in the first 6 in a Pretemps qualifier. But obviously, if you win a Pretemps qualifier, you'll get a significant penalty. So, the art of getting into the Pretemps whilst maintaining a handicap mark is one of the great arts in horse race training. So, you have to watch who finishes in the first 6 in all the Pretemps qualifiers. I did like Relegate, but she's gone very, very short now. As a previous Cheltenham champion bumper winner, she had what you call the perfect prep run, finishing 4th at Punchestown last time out. But One of the Prize finished just in front of her, actually, with the red cap. Is a great view for Dennis Cullen, kind of like Sire de Burley as well, who won the race last year. Also, Jake McManus is 2 out of 2 in handicap hurdles at Cheltenham so far.
Okay, so a great view around about 16 to 1 is Thom's shout in the Pretemps, which goes to post at 10 past 2. John, what do you like in this?
Kilbrick Storm is the one I put up, guys, at 14 to 1 each way. Won the Albert Bartlett Grade 1 Novices Hurdle here at the festival a couple of years ago. Had the likes of Santini behind. Has form of Delta work. Is not the same horse as back then, but ran well in the Cleeve Hurdle for a long way. I heard the horse has been working well at home. Kilbrick Storm for the Tizzards. I would prefer the yards be in better form, but I think Kilbrick Storm with Paddy Power playing 7 places for each way players in this one. Kilbrick Storm, I think, is a good each way bet of 14 to 1 down in grade.
Drifting to 16, actually, just as we talked there this morning as well. So an even better bet.
Yeah, with all those extra places, like Sire de Burley will be, Sire de Burley is an absolute each way smash up job as far as I'm concerned. I do like the chance of Great View, but that's just on the price versus Relegate. But Sire de Burley is not going to be out of the first 7 here. Absolutely not going to be out of the first 7. Won this race last year. and like I say, qualified for it nicely. And Barry Garrity on board, Jake McManus, first colours. There's a lot of boxes ticked there for me.
Okay, all right. So shouts for Sarda Burley, a great view, and Kilbrick and Storm with that one. John, just a final point about the atmosphere that Paddy was talking about there. Presumably everybody's talking non-stop. Literally every conversation anybody's having here at the moment is about the impact that the coronavirus is going to have on the rest of our lives, because we're talking about life-changing events here, about how we go about our day-to-day business, certainly for the next 3 months. And more than likely much longer than that as well. So what is the general consensus over there? Are people surprised that the event is going ahead? And why? So you're there for work, but why are other people showing up?
I think other people are showing up on the basis of what they planned for months or for a year and to come here from Ireland and locally. This thing has escalated rapidly in the last few weeks, and the judgments have been made of whether governments were too slow to act or that. But like on Monday, the Culture Secretary here said it would be very premature to put sporting events behind closed doors, and there were no plans to do so. That was only Monday, and this thing has moved very rapidly. So I think people are now feeling very much in a strange outlier. I feel like I'm in a strange bubble here. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone regarding being here. I think now that what's happening in the world is now catching up with people's thoughts around Cheltenham and around going to a sporting event in Ireland, a Gaelic Games match or the Liverpool match last night. And I now think that's aligning with the gravity of the situation. And therefore, I don't think maybe there's a lack of anticipation around this. That what happened in China, what happened in Italy could happen here and potentially will happen here in the UK and Ireland. So that I think that's the general feeling. It's funny, even in the media, you're in a bubble from the rest of the public. But nobody's doing anything differently around the course. There's many hand sanitizers. People are, I notice anybody who coughs. I notice anybody who sneezes, really clearly. I'm very much aware of my surroundings when I'm walking around. But even though I think there are less people here, and Gold Cup Day will be very interesting if it goes ahead with crowds, and I expect it to go ahead, because Gold Cup Day is the biggest day of the week by far. In the past, it's been over 70,000. A lot of people coming down from London and that, and you really can't move on Gold Cup Day. I've been able to walk around here freely during the week, and it definitely has felt muted. And I just think people are a little bit bemused by the whole thing. Yeah. All right, John, we leave it there for now. Thanks a million. And John's stuff obviously up on offtheball.com. He's reporting for us across all of our platforms, and you can follow him on Twitter as well. Right. Yeah, tomorrow will go ahead, but you do get the feeling that it's just going to end and that is the door slamming shut behind Cheltenham and a lot of sporting action, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Albeit, when you're making... if you're to use the most obvious analogy, closing the stable door after a horse is bolted. But, yeah. If you're going to make the decision today to stop football on Saturday from being played in front of crowds, allowing tomorrow to go ahead is just throwing good money after bad. Yeah. Because, whatever you can do to minimise the impact on your health system, you have to do now. That's really what we're seeing from it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to see if what comes from the sort of meetings over the next sort of 24 to 36 hours as regards people travelling in and out of this country. It's John and Johnny we might not see them for 2 weeks. No, it's more than likely we won't. Right, the Cheltenham Show here, of course, is brought to you in association with our Cheltenham partner, Paddy Power. Cheltenham's coming home. Johnny Ward, are you coming home? Are you going to self-isolate in Cheltenham for a couple of weeks?
Who knows? I'm just thinking back now to when Fernie Hollow won the bumper yesterday. It was quite apparent that JD had backed the horse and tipped it because he cheered at home in the press room, and JD and I had a warm embrace in front of all our local journalists and so forth. And then I was thinking, we probably shouldn't be doing this, with the coronavirus and all that. But just for 2 minutes, everything was okay. You shared a magical moment together in the press room in Cheltenham. JD started kind of as if he were winding up like a rope that he was going to throw around a horse, like an old cowboy, as the horse was like clearly going to win in the last furlong. Now, I'd been roaring a little bit at the TV screen, go on, Paul, realising as I did that I was going to win a few bob. But JD went into full JD mode where I think he'd had a frustrating couple of days and everything was forgiven. He looked a little bit morose earlier in the day, but once Fernie Hollow got up the hill, everything was okay. And everyone knew that JD and I knew each other, and they certainly knew that we backed the horse.
Well, also, by the way, you probably owe Paul Townend a drink as well, because that was one of the rides of the week.
It was fantastic. Funnily enough, when I was waiting to get on the show yesterday morning, I heard the two of you talking about Fernie Hollow at length, and Thom was on about, obviously you were on about the prelims and how he would react, and there was a false start which wouldn't have been ideal. Strangely enough, the Cheltenham camera was basically following him around the parade ring as if he were a hot favourite. 14-1 at the time.
One of the reasons for that was Jane Mangan had actually spoke quite extensively about him and basically said to the racing TV camera operator, you better follow this guy, you might get a good shot here because he's an absolute fruit loon. Apparently he Patrick's nice red Mustang, apparently he put a good dent in the back of that one morning. So maybe that might explain why Patrick wasn't.
All the best information ever coming. You've got just the perfect. I'm going to do the analysis, but I've also got these little tidbits of gossip that nobody else gives you. This is exactly why Thom Malone is here, folks.
Absolutely. He sounds like he's been cheering on a few horses himself as well. A little bit on the horse side this morning.
He's been smoking Sweet Afton. No filter, Sweet Aftons back from the 60s.
I met Willie Mullins coming out of the track, and I was saying when I visited your yard for the Cheltenham prelims, the media days, I said I was particularly fond of two horses. One of them was Fernie Hollow, who I spent a bit of time with in the stable, patting him and so forth, and the other one was 5 o'clock. And I said that Gordon Elliott's the one that I really wanted to his Delta work. And I said the two of them, 5 o'clock bolted up in his following race. Fernie Hollow was bolted up in 2 races since. 5 o'clock obviously runs in the Martin Pike tomorrow, and Delta work runs in the Gold Cup. But I also did point out yesterday that I tipped up 5 horses for Cheltenham in October. 4 of them are all non-runners, they're all injured. One of them was Chacun Poursois, and the last one was presenting Percy. So it's like, has this horse any chance of making the track tomorrow? But anyway, it is what it is. It's been a fun 2 days.
So you obviously did okay yesterday, Johnny?
I did. Had a good day, particularly back in Fernie Hollow, I suppose, and that was my main selection on the day. I backed Battle Over Doyne as well. I backed him at 14-1. He was sent off 7-1. Looked great for much of the race, but again, at Leopardstown, he found absolutely nothing for pressure, which is quite surprising, really, considering how he jumped. He was ridden very wide by Davy Russell, which I don't think was ideal, but at the same time, I expect him to find more, and I have a little bit of a concern about the horse now going forward, because he doesn't seem to. He's had a couple of disappointing runs back to back. No, it was a good day.
No forgiving Battle Over Doyne. You got to remember that.
I think he's had his 2 shots
today. Where does he fall in?
Well, you're a Samcro lover.
You're surely with Samcro here today, are you?
Of course. I mean, how could you not be? But I put up a poll the other day. Who do you want to win, Faugheen or Samcro? It was like 81% Faugheen. I mean, Faugheen's a 12-year-old. He's been to the well. If he retires now, everyone's happy. Samcro has one last shot of redemption. Where's the lovers of somebody being redeemed here? To me, it's all about the prodigal son. They're by the same stallion. They're the same daddy. Samcro's coming back. He's like, please forgive me. I've been crap for 2 years, but everything's okay now.
I've laid my cards very much on the table for Faugheen.
Thom will be in tears if Faugheen wins.
It's the line of matchsticks beside Faugheen's name that I think might contribute to the 81%.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal talent, 12 years of age. I pointed out actually recently, two 12-year-olds won novice chases at Leopardstown, the Monday meeting after the trials, Cheltenham kind of Gallops Day. So it's obviously in vogue at the moment. Faugheen haven't done that at the Dublin Racing Festival, but there is a lot of confidence behind his chance. I was told yesterday he's working great. You'd have to respect it. The two of them have been very well backed, actually, to the exclusion of pretty much everyone else.
You'd have to conclude, Johnny, that remember on the media day, there wasn't actually that much chat about Faugheen, and if anything, they were keen to just dampen any expectations and kind of even said, oh, well, we might go to Fairyhouse. On that day, I thought the only way this horse is getting to Cheltenham is if he's absolutely 100% and 0 risks will be taken with him.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to run, I've got to be honest with you. I think what they were going to do is kind of typical Willie Mullins, leave it to the last minute, bring him over, and if there's any issue, a bit like Battle over Dorian yesterday, if he travels over well, not that Faheen has had problems travelling or anything, but I think they were going to leave the decision very, very late. So what are we now, 9:30? Hopefully in 3 hours and 4 hours time, he's definitely going to be turning up. But why not? You know, it's, I'd say, I'm not sure if a Cheltenham winner would be celebrated with such vigour basically ever as Faheen, with all the Irish over there, 12 years of age. I think people warm to the story, you know, a bit like a very old golfer winning a major, or at least going well in the major, defying basically advancing years. And Faheen at 12 years of age, quite extraordinary that he's still going as strong. It's not like he started off his career very late as well. He's been on the go a long time, and he's just his attitude, his will to win. That's what people want in racehorses, and he's probably the modern day Denoli, I suppose. And certainly at Leopardstown there was that sort of reaction to his victory, and he has a big chance, but I want Sam Crow to win. If
Fernie Hollow was your big bet yesterday, what's your big bet today then?
Well, I was just doing a preview there for Ladbrokes, and Paisley Park at 8-11. I don't want to be very kind of unoriginal here, but how does this horse get beaten? There's nothing to come out of the woodwork. I mean, short of him falling or something going badly wrong, and obviously Defi Desoy was disappointing yesterday. He's won all his races since the start of last season. To me, he's absolutely bulletproof. I'd make him shorter than 8-11, but if you don't want to back it up.
I've said kind of from the start that there's only one horse that should fall into the certainty category with all the, you know, shorties we've had all week, and that's this lad, Johnny. Like, you know, and that's the other thing. World hurdle winners or Stayers hurdle winners, like, they come back and do it again. The big bucks, English Dreavers, whatever. They're like, they realised that this is their domain. And the other thing is, a lot of the others are just kind of here just because, as Ruby says, you don't buy a horse to become a champion chaser or a staying hurdler. You buy them to be a champion hurdler or a Gold Cup winner. And a lot of these kind of just end up here by default, whereas Paisley Park is an outstanding staying hurdler.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you say there. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you own Champ, where would you go with him? Because he can't win a Gold Cup jumping like that yesterday. He won the race yesterday. As much as Barry Geraghty's lauded for the right, he won the race yesterday because Allaho and Manila Indo fell into an absolute communal hole from the last. They just stopped to nothing, and he basically stayed on after not jumping well enough to win the race. So he has an engine. Should he not be basically going over hurdles? You mentioned it there, the longevity of the staying hurdlers versus the staying chasers. It's a totally different ball game. I have no idea about the science behind this, but staying hurdlers just seem to have that last ability that the Gold Cup horses don't. It just doesn't seem to take as much out of them, and he can just basically tip away and beat inferior horses. There's just nothing coming out of the woodwork, short of City Island, who obviously beat Champ last year and produced a remarkable performance today. He could finish second, but
he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's about the only unknown quantity in this race, but he would have to improve significantly on what he's seen to trouble Paisley Park, wouldn't he?
He would, and I don't like the prep of, you alluded to yourself, I don't like the prep of being chasing this season and then going over hurdles. To me, it's kind of like, you know, it's a for slow learners type thing. It's basically, this wasn't the plan, but here we are anyway. We got it right after our fashion. And, you know, that to me isn't prep to be beating Paisley Park.
Yeah. All right. Look, we're going to let you go, but all joking aside, what is the actual atmosphere when you're talking to punters about how well or otherwise the thought processes behind having large crowds gathering as a global pandemic rips through Europe?
Essentially, people will tell you one of two things. One, that it shouldn't be on, and two, they'll tell you that it should be on, but they're lying. And I think at this stage we realise that this should not be on unless every other country who's dealing with this crisis is absolutely bonkers. And what's really surprising for me is this is the most un-British reaction to a crisis that I think I've ever seen. I thought they would be all over this. If this were in Ireland, they'd be like, well, yeah, we are quite a bit laid back about things. But in Britain, I thought, the more I look at it this week, I'm absolutely astonished it's on, and I wouldn't be certain tomorrow will take place. There is a report today in one of the papers that if the crisis reaches over 500 cases in Britain, that they're going to bring in a large number of measures to do with the Premier League and so on. Cheltenham will be included in that, which would imply that the Friday will be called off, and I think that could well happen. But I wrote about this yesterday. It shouldn't have gone ahead. Yeah. And on a personal level, are you kind of thinking about when you come back not seeing anybody for 14 days? As much as we're kind of laughing about this, I had a friend who didn't come over because he's a young son. I had another friend, Dave Keena, who Thom would know, who didn't come over because he's an elderly mother. And I spoke to a friend of mine. Yeah, well, I spoke to a friend of mine yesterday, a photojournalist, and I was like, you have a couple of young kids, and I was like, just just bear in mind, be careful, because we've no idea. It takes so long for it to obviously come up. What is it, 5 days to 2 weeks? We're speculating here, and I think we can say with a fair degree of certainty, more degree of certainty than Paisley Park, that the Cheltenham, with 60,000 people meeting 4 days in a row, with Cheltenham already having had a case of it last week, I think we can say it's likely that there will be one case coming out at the very least.
I think if you look at some of the conferences in the States, the numbers are going to be grotesquely more than one. On that cheery note, Johnny, you'll be cheering Paisley Park home today. Best of luck with it. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Anything finally from you, Thom?
We'll quickly run through them. Obviously, with Faugheen in the first, love the pretemps. I'll stick with Sire de Burley and maybe a little each way in the Great View. I think Apley targets the better min, as John said. Paisley Park is Stonewall. Actually, one of my best bets of the week comes later as well. I like Spirit of the Games each way in the 4:10. Has finished second at the course twice. You get extra places on that race as well. I think it's generally 5 places. Spirit of the Games, can't see him out of the 5. Bridget Andrews on board for Dan Skelton. And one of my best bets of the week here is actually at 10 to 5. I'm going against John Duggan.
Right.
But similar profile to Honeysuckle earlier on in the week. I am not abandoning the formula. Manila Melody, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore in the Kenny Alexander colours. I generally thought she should have been a shorter price favourite. John's case for Colreevy is solid, but look, Manila Melody, Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore, it is a winning combination, and I can't see past it. She won the Solarina Hurdle at Fairyhouse. The Solarina Hurdle winner nearly always comes out and wins this. It's a solid trial. Honeysuckle won that race last year, then ended up missing this race at Cheltenham when she was anti-post favourite. But Manila Melody, one of my best bets of the week, and I'm taking on John Duggan with Colreevy because I think they're big old holes in her form.
3-1.
Yeah,
about Manila Melody.
In the last, I'm sickened with the last because I backed a horse called At the Acorn, who was 25th on the list, and they don't have reserves, but a non-runner has come out, so if they had reserves, he would have gotten in.
Why don't they have reserves?
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
They don't have reserves in the Kimyear. They have reserves in some races, not in others. Right. Anyway, he was 25th on the list, and now he doesn't get in, and that is a sickener.
All right, well, Tom's been having a great week. All of the details of his tips are up on his own Twitter account, and of course also on offtheball.com. We'll have John Duggan's tips. We'll have our roundup of all the tipsters, the poll of polls that Owen's been doing. offtheball.com/racing for all the details as the day unfolds. We're covering the unfolding story of how coronavirus is impacting all of the sports around the world. NBA called off last night. Basketball in Ireland called off. Still no word as we speak at 9:45 this morning from everybody else, but we'll get you. We're going to be speaking to Stephen McGuinness about the League of Ireland situation on our channels very soon, offtheball.com. So stay tuned. It is an unfolding story, and we'll be right here for you. We're not going anywhere. We'll be back tomorrow morning straight after OTBN with the final Cheltenham Show of the week at 9 o'clock. Good luck.
The Cheltenham Show
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Paddy Power. Cheltenham's coming home.